So I am back with another video. This one is all about the beginning of January for me, the start of the new year. I have been excited about going on Alaskan adventures. I have been on a few, but I hadn't been on any solo adventures yet, so I was really looking forward to doing that. I love being around people. I love going on like special weekend trips with friends, but there is something special about going on solo adventures. So I got to go on my first solo adventure the very first week of January, so it was a great way to start the new year off. And I decided to go to one of my favorite little towns up here called Talkeetna. It's very close to Denali National Park. And it's just a cute little town. There's a few gift shops. It's very small. You can see Denali, the mountain, from like the town. And it's got some shops, some restaurants, some coffee shops. It's a cozy little spot. I've also been really wanting to go on, I call it like a personal writing retreat. So to get away all by myself, just kind of unplug and dedicate a day or two to working on some of my creative projects, mostly writing. So I decided to combine the solo adventure and the writing retreat, and I went to Talkeetna to stay in a little cabin and do some writing. It ended up being really great. I didn't spend the entire time writing. I wanted to explore a little bit and kind of just enjoy the peace and quiet, not having to work, not having any responsibilities or anywhere to go, just to kind of relax. And I was able to do like I don't know, I was only there for 2 days, so I'd say probably 50% of the time maybe I was writing. I feel like overall it was a successful trip. I got away by myself. I got to experience, driving out into Alaska by myself and explored this little town and did some writing and stayed in the cutest little spot. It was great. It was everything I was wanting it to be. So I'm hoping that in this new year, especially since I started it off this way, there will be a lot more of these kind of getaways. Some solo and hopefully some with friends. Hello, it is a beautiful day for an adventure here. Beautiful cold day, but I am leaving work early and I'm headed to Talkeetna. So this will be my first ever in Alaska solo trip. So I've never like driven far out of town alone by myself here. So I'm very excited to just get away by myself to a cozy little cabin and just have some intentional writing and creative time. So I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've been calling it my little solo writing retreat, to just get away and have some quiet time, focus on myself, and try to work on a couple of my creative projects that I've had on the back burner for a while now. So I booked a really cute, this time a little bit more or what should I say, like less of off the grid type place. It does have running water and a bathroom, cabin to spend the weekend. So booked that in Talkeetna. It's still like really small and cozy looking, perfect for especially just like one person. It's got like a little loft bed. I'll show you guys when I get there, but I'm very excited to just cozy up for the weekend, the next 48 hours, do some writing, drink some tea, plenty of coffee, hopefully some pastries will be involved, and then find some time, of course, to like wander around Talkeetna and check out the shops and have some good meals there. made it to my little cabin in Talkeetna. Super cute. And it has a little space set aside for writing, which is perfect for me because that's what I came here to do. So I'm gonna head downstairs now and probably just stay in tonight. It's only 4 o'clock, but I've been driving for a couple hours. It's already like getting dark out, and I don't really feel like going out and exploring the town right now, so I'm probably gonna have a quiet night in, make some breakfast burritos for dinner, and start with some writing. You kind of always expect there to be snacks, or at the very least coffee or tea or something at Airbnbs. So, you know, this place is adorable and I absolutely love it so far, but sadly there does not appear to be any coffee. Take that back, I found the coffee. Alright, so to save a little bit of money, and also just in the spirit of like huddling away in a cabin for 48 hours to write, I decided to bring some food instead of going out for all of my meals. I decided to just make breakfast burritos, and I was going to do that for in the morning, but I think that now that I'm here in the cabin and I'm trying to get it warm, a little bit warmer than it was when I walked in here. It was like freezing when I first got here. It's like 54 degrees, which to me feels freezing. So I decided to just stay in tonight instead of getting back out and driving in the dark and trying to look for a place to eat. I am going to have breakfast burritos for dinner tonight instead. And then we have another great way that you can use extra tough foods. Non-traditional. If you're driving in the car and you don't want your bottles to break, it's the perfect drink carrier. It just works. It is the next morning and I am headed into town. I'm gonna go get some breakfast and walk around a little bit, explore, see what's out here, and then I'm gonna come straight back and start writing.
It has been the loveliest day. It started off last night with a bit of a down in the dumps kind of feeling. I think I mentioned it, how, usually when I am going on an adventure, I like to have people to join. I mean, who doesn't? It's nice to have people around, people you care about, friends, loved ones, to share in those memories with you. So I always have mixed feelings about solo adventures. I do think that they are really fun, and I've always enjoyed them whenever I do get the chance to go on a solo adventure. But there's always that back and forth feeling at first where it's like, oh man, I kind of wish someone was here with me, and then you kind of feel a little bad for yourself for just a second, have like a little pity party, just a small one, and then something inevitably happens to make you realize, like, oh, this is actually really cool, I'm glad I'm doing this. That something in my case was literally just having a good sleep last night and waking up with a fresh new perspective. So I got to the coffee shop this morning, which was amazing, by the way. It's I was gonna say it's one of my favorite coffee shops I've ever been to, and I think that's true. It was pretty unique. It was pretty special. I liked it. The crepes were amazing. I got a lemon butter and sugar crepe and a coffee. So that was my breakfast this morning. It was so good that I actually got another one to go. I wrote a little bit in my journal while I was there, and I'll read some of it to you. Today is filled with fresh new possibility, and it feels delightful. These solo trips, when I take them, are empowering, reminding me of who I am and what I can do in the world, even if, especially if I'm by myself. It's reminding myself that life is wonderful at whatever stage I'm in. It's realizing again and again that I can take care of myself and make life something good no matter what. Sitting here thinking over my coffee, wondering what would I do? How would I live my life and think differently if I didn't worry over the time restraints I and society are putting on my life. I want to trust that if it's meant to happen, it will. And I don't have to feel rushed or pressured or in a hurry. Now I think it's my task to make sure I revel in the moment, appreciate the days and the lessons as they come, and allow myself to let go and just be on this wild and wonderful journey. So the fact that I've planned this solo getaway, yes, it was about being creative and having the time and the space to write, but it was also something bigger for me, and I think it always has been whenever I do something like this. I don't know about you guys, but I think the idea of doing things alone by myself, and I think this depends on personality too, but doing things alone is sometimes very scary. It's a very scary thing to do, especially if it's something like going on a trip by yourself or doing an amazing experience by yourself. And I think that I've always felt that way, but at the same time, I've always felt this like almost like a need within me to do it anyway. I think that it is such a confidence builder. I think that in those moments of being alone, whether I'm having an amazing time or whether I'm all of a sudden really depressed and anxious and sad that I'm doing it alone, it just allows me to be in this space that reminds me that, first of all, it's okay to be alone. Like, it's totally fine. It's actually good to be alone sometimes and to be able to sit in that solitude and appreciate it and gather what you can from it, whatever that is. And then secondly, I think that it's very empowering, especially for me as a woman. I think that being able to go off, whether it's 30 minutes down the road to a restaurant you've been wanting to try, 2 hours down the road like this to a cabin where you're like doing something awesome and kind of romantic and cool, like by yourself, or, moving to another country. I mean, that's an extreme example, but it's also something that you could do, that people do by themselves. All of those things are such amazing opportunities to say, like, hey, this is my life, and whether I'm alone or with someone, whether I'm doing it by myself or have friends to join me or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever it is, I'm gonna go out and enjoy it. I'm gonna go out and make the most of my life, gather opportunities, gather experiences, make memories, learn what I can while I'm here, and do that all despite the fear. Despite the fear of doing it by yourself, despite the fear of, what could happen if I go off on my own and do this, despite the fear of missing things back home when you do go and do it, whatever it is. And I think that is always, like I said, very empowering to me. And it's one of the reasons that I still choose to do things like this occasionally by myself, because I know, based on experience, what I've learned from these moments before. And I think just as part of valuing personal growth in my life and doing things despite the fear, I think those are things that I do value very strongly in my life. And so I continue to put myself in positions where I'm able to grow and I'm able to learn and I'm able to practice doing things even when I'm afraid. And I love that. I love the chance to do that. I love that I have these opportunities to do that. And I invite you, if you are someone who is also curious about doing some solo adventures, seeing what you can learn from it, seeing what you can experience in those moments of being alone and doing amazing or, boring things just by yourself. So I'd invite you to, plan that trip or go to that restaurant, even though it might be scary to sit there by yourself at a table for one, but do it anyways and be curious about what is showing up for you, whether that's all of a sudden like a rush of sad emotions or like depressed, down in the dump feeling, whether you cry, whether you laugh, whether it's the most exhilarating, freeing feeling you've ever felt in your life. I invite you to feel that and sit with that and experience that and see what it does for you. I remember the first ever trip I took by myself, and I'd gone places by myself before, I had moved countries by myself, but I had always met up with others. I had always met groups or joined communities that I was going to meet. And so it never felt like I was fully doing it by myself, even though it was scary in its own way. But the first ever truly solo trip I took was to Italy. So when I was studying in Israel, I decided, and it was kind of prompted by a disappointment in love, but I decided to take that disappointment and remind myself again of what an awesome life I was living, and remind myself to make the most of the life that I had while I had it. And so I decided to book a flight, because they were super cheap from where I was, to Italy. So I went to Rome and Florence by myself. I'd never been to Italy before. I was 27 at the time, and it was both an exhilarating and a terrifying experience. I was completely by myself. I, flew by myself there. I met myself at the airport. I walked through Florence to find the hostel I was staying in. I figured it out all by myself, which is just, if you're a traveler, that feeling, how it is. And after doing it for a while, it's okay. It's not that impressive to yourself anymore. But the fact that I was doing it alone, it was definitely a moment of building confidence for me. So got to do that. The scariest part of the trip, I will say, was actually, and this is funny looking back on it now because I've done this many times since, but it was actually choosing to go to this very nice little restaurant and have a, kind of a fancy Italian dinner by myself. And that is something that I'd never really put myself in that position before. Of course, I'd go into cafes and coffee shops by myself before. I worked on my computer. It's distracting, wrote in my journal, it doesn't matter. There's plenty of other people there by themselves. But the idea of going to a fancy restaurant alone and asking for a table for one, and then sitting there and having a nice dinner alone, it felt almost like I didn't deserve it. I didn't deserve to take up that space in the restaurant when other people could be sitting there, with someone to share that experience with. And wow, that's something that is totally not true. And now I know it to be not true, but I felt it in my body then, that I didn't deserve to do that. But I was there, you know, it was the first time in Italy. I wanted to be there and experience a nice dinner in an Italian restaurant. And so I pushed past that, like, uncomfortable feeling. And I went into this restaurant the first night I was there, and I asked for a table, and, you know, how many for? Just one, just me. And I sat there at the table, and I remember at first it was really awkward. Like, I didn't know where to put my eyes. Like, I didn't know, like, if I should be looking around, like, awkwardly while I waited for my food, and everyone else was there with their groups of people or their partners, and it just felt really strange and uncomfortable, and I had to literally force myself not to just stare down at the plate in front of me as I ate. And in the end, it ended up being, you know, yes, it was an awkward, uncomfortable experience, but it was, I think, essential in my growth as a person and realizing that, like, yes, I do deserve to take up this space just like anyone else. It is okay to go and, like, have a nice dinner by yourself in a restaurant, to be alone and experience something on your own. Yeah, and you know, when you're traveling, especially too, if you're by yourself, it does open up opportunities to, like, meet people as well. And I did meet people that night. Already anyways, but I apparently made the wrong turn, and it's just, yeah, the Google Maps was taking me to this, it wasn't even showing up as road anymore on the map, which was kind of terrifying. So now I've turned around, and I am, thankfully there's a house, at least I know someone is alive here, but it's just so dark and scary. I think I'm going in the right direction now, though. All in a day's adventure, right? From my Talkeetna solo riding retreat. I'm headed back to Anchorage now. Should be a couple hours and then I'll go back in town. So I visited Flying Squirrel Bakery and Cafe again this morning in the light of day. Before heading out, grabbed a coffee and a blueberry banana muffin, which was amazing. This is definitely a spot I would recommend if you're ever in Talkeetna. I mean, look at this muffin.